Aloha. How is everybody today? Today is Wednesday, February 26th. My name is Kim Ann Curtin, and this is live coaching. My hope is that I will get some volunteers to come in and get some live coaching. And if not, then my hope is that you guys will put forward some questions that you would like to have answered, any challenges you're having with your trading or with just life itself. I want you to feel comfortable. This is a place you can do that. Additionally, as you guys, some of you may know, I have a trader vent voicemail, which is such a great place for you to dump any of the challenges you're doing in a anonymous sort of way. That phone number, which you should keep handy, is 646-828-7736. That is a voicemail where you don't have to say your name, and all you have to do is just vocalize what you're challenged with, the places you're struggling, what is got you kind of all jacked up right now. And you're just like, why can't I break through this, Kim? Put it on that voicemail whenever you're struggling, whenever you feel like your head is banging against the wall, because then I can take your voicemail, play it here, and then I can speak to you if you come and listen to that episode after you leave that voicemail. So, who am I? I obviously said my name already, but why are you even here to trust me? Like, who the hell am I to even have an opinion on any of this? So I'm going to tell you who I am. So I'm known as the Wall Street Coach, which I got christened with that name in 2008, 2009. I had a year and a half, had started my practice 2006 coaching. I worked in finance for 10 years before that. So I was a decade at the C-suite level, and the last position I was in was at King Street Capital. And I sat next to a trading desk and assisted the managing partner. This is one of the largest hedge funds in the world. It was very difficult to get into that position. And it was the kind of position that you just don't leave. Like, most of the people that I worked with are still there. And, but I knew I was being called to become a coach because I had hired a coach. The coach that I hired was called a coactive coach, which is what I'm certified in now. So I've worked for the past now, 18 years. I've coached and consulted traders and executives at hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds, 7 and 8 figure traders. I've worked with CEOs of unicorn startups. I've worked with COOs of billion-dollar companies. I've worked with every industry under the sun, except perhaps porn. That's the only industry I think is possible I haven't technically worked with, but I've worked with every kind of industry, every kind of executive, every kind of trader. And ultimately, in my experience, part of what the challenge becomes with traders who, novices, but also veterans, sophisticated traders, is that their mindset is either going to be facilitating them in up leveling, or it's going to be holding them back. And I think what we have to all realize for the journey of this thing called life, everyone included, even if you're not a trader and you're listening to this, we are going to always be growing in certain kinds of up leveling ways. But there are times where even the most successful people hit a plateau of sorts. And the only way you're going to be able to break through sort of that plastic saran wrap, which looks like a glass ceiling, but often is just something you have to puncture through, is a willingness to shift where you feel currently comfortable. Good morning, Tina. It's good to have you here. Good morning to everybody, or good afternoon. It's good morning for me because it's almost 10 a.m., but it's afternoon Eastern time if you guys are all on Eastern time. Even for those in California, you're already in the afternoon. So that's what I want to just say to you. I have a new book coming out that's not about trading. It's my paddling coach's memoir. His name is Manny Vincent. In Hawaii, anybody older than you address as uncle or auntie. So I call him Uncle Manny because I called him Uncle Manny for 12 years. So he is 93 years old, 93 years old. I keep saying 94, but I think he's 93. And he was the paddling coach that I met when I got here 12 years ago. Now, those of you guys who know me, like, I'm not a jockey girl. Like, I was on a swim team in high school. I was on the tennis team, but I never consider myself a jock or a sporty kind of chick. And I fell in love with paddling. It's a big part of the reason why I left New York City to move to Hawaii. And when I first started paddle, it's outrigger canoe paddling. So it's a 6-man canoe. You're sitting, in a very narrow canoe that's very long, and that holds 6 people. And you're having to follow in perfect sequence the person 2 in front of you. So, half the canoe's on the right side, the other half, 3 people are on the left side. So it's a lot, first of all, of strength to move that canoe through the water, but it's also that sense of sequence. You have to be in rhythm, in harmony. When I first started, guys, I was completely out of my element because there was so much being asked of you at once. And I was definitely feeling inadequate. I wasn't in shape enough for this. I wasn't, experienced enough for this. A lot of the local community, the Hawaiians that I paddle with, they have been paddling since they're 8 years old. So you can imagine somebody who's taken it up, how old I am. It was a shock to my system. Now, part of the reason I'm still paddling 12 years later is because there came a time where it became clear to me that I had to let go of what I thought, the paddling was going to require of me. I had to kind of surrender to the discomfort of having no idea what I was doing and to just be in the fact that I had no idea what I was doing and that my body was like kind of in resistance to this new sequencing, this new set of rhythms and physical, it's not actually your arms, even though your arms can get tired. It's actually your core and it's actually your legs that are keeping you in the canoe and allowing you to move forward to pull water, basically. So the reason I bring that story up is when I first came to that canoe club and I started to paddle, I almost quit. I almost quit about 3 different times because physically I was being challenged. Mentally, I was being challenged. I also was a haole, which is a white person. And some of the Hawaiian girls they were not so nice to me. Let's just say that. And so I was experiencing like this mental pressure, feeling like an outsider, encroaching upon a sport I had no experience with. I had physical challenges because it was so freaking hard to paddle. And then I also just had that sense of coordination challenge. So 3 times I almost quit. And one of the things that happened in the midst of this, thanks to Uncle Manny, was I just, went up to him one day and I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I am doing everything wrong for months and it's not getting better. And that is when he used this phrase that is in the book that I just helped him complete. It's his memoir. It's called Born of Two Oceans. Keep an eye out for it. Bornoftwooceans.com. It's the website if you guys want to sign up for that book. It's a 238-page book all about Uncle Manny, who he has been a coach for the Kauai High Canoe Club for 50 years. He's a rancher. He's still ranching, guys, at 93 years old. He's still a rancher. He's a cowboy. We call him Paniolos here. This man is written on the back of a shark. He has stories like Ernest Hemingway, so I had to help him with his memoir, and hopefully it'll be out in the next couple of weeks, this month, March. But all of this to say, he just sat there that day when I was like, practically in tears because I was so demoralized, and he just looked at me and he said, "Kim, you have saran wrap above your head, and you think it's glass. Just push through." And it was just such a great metaphor in the moment for me to realize, wow, this is really me holding myself back. So I'm going to turn, obviously, all this around to you guys. Where is there saran wrap that is blocking you from up-leveling? Is it a belief of what you think is capable? Is it a story that you keep telling yourself over and over and over again? You've got to really ask that, guys, because we all are going to have this sense of thinking we can't do what's next. If you're a trader who's been using a certain strategy for a long time, it could be that this market condition is teaching you got to have a new one, or you have to go back to one that you're rusty in. Or perhaps you have a limiting belief around money. Maybe you are coming from a place of feeling like, who are you to make a lot of money? Who are you to, have this great opportunity called trading when there's people out there, digging ditches, for God's sakes, breaking their back, and you get to press buttons and sit in air conditioning and, make money. There are so many limiting beliefs around our relationship to success. And you've got to take a look at if any of those are potentially standing in your way. There's another thing too, which I don't talk often enough about with regards to success. And this is probably unexpected for you guys to maybe hear, but what I want you to get is that when we start to have success, and I'm talking wealth, financial success, but also just business success, being, recognized or seen in any sort of format, can sometimes really throw people off because it makes people threatened who are currently in your life. When you have people who have been in your life for a very long time, could be family, could be friends, could be a lot of different places you've collected your circle. I have seen this happen too, especially with the younger traders who did very well during the pandemic. Their close circle didn't know how to be with their success. Their close circle started to feel insecure around them. The person who was having the success didn't feel insecure, but they saw a change in how their friends responded to them. They saw a change in feeling like their friends didn't feel perhaps as comfortable around them. That is also going to be very, very emotionally difficult for any trader, because all of us know intuitively, intrinsically, that we do not survive if we are kicked out of the tribe. So you want to think about that. If you have had a group of people who have supported you for years and you start to succeed, you start to have success, you start to maybe get a little fancier car or find yourself having kind of certain things show up that make other people are human. People can get jealous. People can say, oh, well, who do you think you are now? Maybe they don't say it in words such as that, but it's a feeling, it's a vibe. The key here is that has nothing to do with you, but that is easier said than felt because they are the people you've counted on and look to for their support. And you're like, wait a minute, they're not going to support me in this up leveling. I'm here to tell you sometimes they won't be. And that is part of the growth. I had some friends when I moved to Hawaii stop talking to me for God's sakes. I mean, I know it sounds dramatic. Of course, they weren't like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, but they did stop talking to me. Now, I'm not saying it's because they necessarily were jealous, but something happens. Like, well, if I don't get to be friends with Kim in the context I used to be friends with, I'm not going to be friends with her anymore. Like, it broke my heart, still breaks my heart. I miss so many of them, but my life was changing. My life was going in a different direction. Yes, I'm in a different time zone, but I have plenty of friends who are in time zones even further away than New York City that I stay in touch with. So, but that was hard. That was part of my growth, knowing I was being called to move to Hawaii. Look, I was afraid to move here for business reasons. I'm on a remote uh, cowboy ranching island. Like, there's no stores here, guys. Like, I have Target and Costco, and those are both an hour and change away. Okay. So this is not like what I'm used to living here. This is like people think, oh, you're on a beach all the time. First of all, I'm not. I'm in this office all the time. But second of all, this I I had one friend, two friends here. That's it. Like, that was a major crazy life shift. Plus the culture. I'm from New York City. I was born in Brooklyn, guys. I move fast. This place is the antithesis of moving fast, right? All of this discomfort, this feeling like, what am I doing? What's that thing where you pat your head and you rub your belly at the same time? I felt so uncoordinated, probably for a good 3 years. That is called growth. I was up leveling. I was being called to expand, to completely leave what I had known, to leave people that I knew, to leave a lifestyle that I had grown accustomed to. We all have our rhythms. We all have our coffee shop. We all have our like lunch spot, our people, our friends who we go out with. All of these things sometimes get foobarred when growth is happening. And what I want to say to you is it's okay to grow anyway. Yes, be gentle on yourself. Yes, start to create new friends. Yes, find a way to be able to cope with the transition. But if you feel that you are being stuck, if you feel like you can't seemingly get out of this self sabotage, you have to take a very hard look if that self sabotage is happening because you are resisting the change. You are resisting the discomfort. And that is understandable. But staying small, keeping yourself where you're familiar or comfortable is the most dangerous thing you could do because you're not going to be able to acquire the growth. If you're 6 feet above ground, you have growing to do. I don't care how sophisticated you are. I don't care how educated you are. I don't care if you're a 40 or 50-year trader. If you are 6 feet above ground, you have growth. And if you are resisting that growth because you just want to stay comfortable, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. So don't be stopping yourself or letting the saran wrap above you stop you because it's all about up leveling. I'm not saying you never get to coast. Of course you do. But I'm talking to those who feel like they're being held back, those who feel like I could be doing more. I could be doing better. I should be able to get past something that is holding me back. Those are the people I'm talking to. Everybody has a different journey. There are going to be people who feel stuck, who feel like they're self sabotaging. that's who I'm talking to. If your life feels golden, if your life feels everything's on track, then by all means stick with it. I don't want to discourage you, but I want those people who feel like they're not living up to their potential to start to become more courageous and to notice if you are completely enamored with your inner critic and the story and the victim that it makes you feel like you are. If you feel that at all, then, you know, ask a question, come in here for speed coaching, or call me, send me a DM, and we could talk about what it looks like privately if that's what you want. Hi, Liz. It's good to have you here. All right. So let me finally give you guys how to come in here in the hot seat if you do want some coaching. All right. So I just shared it on, it'll probably show up on YouTube. I'm not sure if this shows up on X. So I'm going to post it on X right now. All right. So let's see if I can do that. I'm going to put it on X right underneath this live image, which I think is up on X. Yep, it sure is. All right. So let me put it here. So if you want a hot seat, we'll just go 10, 15 minutes. Let's see here. Hot seats for live coaching. Right here. All right. I don't know. I guess those who are watching through Instagram, I'm not sure if you guys can see it or not, but if you got, let me just put it here. I'm going to try to post it here. I think that'll work. All right. So I just posted that. So if you guys are watching on Instagram, LinkedIn, let me just get it up on LinkedIn too, because LinkedIn should be working now. But ultimately, guys, this is simply about you taking a good look at yourself, asking yourself, are you being held back? Are you possibly self-sabotaging? And if you are self-sabotaging, then I can promise you, you can actually do something about it. But you have to be willing to take 100% responsibility. So I have put this up, I believe now, everywhere. It should be up on Instagram Live, YouTube, and X. And if anybody does want to come in for some live coaching, please come right in. I'm looking on the restream to see if anybody is here so far, but I don't believe I see that. You sort of will come into a green room, guys, and that will be where I open you up and bring you into the room. So today's topic, I've already, one topic, I was coming with a couple of topics in case people don't come into the space for live coaching. But please let me encourage you, if you're not going to come in today, please come in one of these times, because the best live coaching episodes is when somebody's getting coached. So, I can understand that could feel a little nerve-wracking, might make you feel a little insecure, but here's what I want to tell you happens every time somebody comes into the live coaching. Everybody watching starts to say to the person, oh my God, me too. That happens to me as well. Oh, yes, I struggle with that too. Oh, thank God you talked about it, because me too. I have to deal with that all the time. A lot of traders carry shame around with them that whatever they're doing, not just in their trading account, but in their life, is that they're the only ones that, oh my God, I do too much of this or too much of that. Guys, we're all human. Nobody is, I don't care the best presentation anybody puts forward, nobody's perfect. Nobody's got it all figured out. Like I said, if you're still walking around on this earth, you got some learning to do. So all you can think about is, wow, here's an opportunity for me to get free coaching. Why wouldn't I come into this conversation? Why wouldn't I want to bring my challenge forward and get some input about how to handle it? That seems crazy to me. And this too, guys, is about growth. Maybe it's uncomfortable. Maybe me, it makes you a nervous wreck. Good. That is where growth occurs. Growth isn't about, staying with what you're familiar with. Growth is about going completely out of your comfort zone and stretching yourself. I have to tell you guys, I have consistently put myself in very, very vulnerable positions for my business, for my coaching, for my books, because when I'm in, I'm all in. It takes it takes a lot for me to feel embarrassed. I don't know if you guys know this. I mean, I think you guys know this, at least the ones who've been, following me for a while. I just want to find this one picture because this is what I did. So you coming into this room for a little speed coaching? I'm sorry, guys. That should not be that scary. If you want to see scary, I'll show you scary. So I was a year and a half into my coaching practice. I walked away from you know, one of the world's largest hedge funds. Like getting a paycheck every 2 weeks, guys, is really a nice thing. Once you become an entrepreneur, that does not happen so much. So I took a huge risk, right? So I'm a year and a half into my coaching practice, and it was the summer of 2008. I was like, literally a year and a half in. First year was pretty good. And then I had like 8 paying clients, like before I was officially certified. Like people were just coming out of the woodwork because I know I was born to coach. So people were just hiring me. It was really magical. But then a year and a half into it, it was the summer right before the banking crash of October 2008. Everything crawled to a halt and I was freaking out. And I had a good friend of mine say to me, Kim, I was part of the free hugs movement. Do you guys remember that? It was with this guy, Juan Mann. It was a play, obviously, he came up with his name. Juanmann. His name was Juan Mann. It's still out there. Sick Puppies was a band. He's from Australia, and he basically had a sign that said free hugs, and he just went across the globe holding a sign, giving out free hugs. So I was part of that in New York City. The Sunday after Thanksgiving, I started out by myself doing this free hugs, and then people heard about it and they all wanted to come with me. So for a few years, the Sunday after Thanksgiving, we would do a free hugs movement in Central Park. And in fact, you guys could go watch that. I think you would look up free hugs and then my name, Kim Ann Curtin. I'm pretty sure it'll come up. One of my friends who used to come with me, his name is Mark. He put this video together of us doing free hugs. We did it at Columbus Circle for many years. And shout out to Scott Bloom, Bloom Real Estate in New York City. Scott and his team used to come and join us. And we gave out hugs to obviously passersby who wanted them. We didn't force hugs upon anybody, but the people who wanted to come have a hug came in. And our most famous hug was Queen Latifah. That was pretty fun that day when she came in for a hug. So that was something I had already done for a couple of years. And I know some people think, oh, that takes a lot of guts to do. It wasn't that gutsy for me. But here's what was gutsy. So after that, I was still doing that. My girlfriend said to me when I was complaining, we were driving to the beach and I was crying about business. Oh my God, business. What am I going to do? And she's like, Kim, that free hugs movement, what if you did free coaching? And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, what if you did free coaching? Maybe you get some business in. And I was like, that's such a crazy idea. And maybe it'll work. So I thought, where would I go? Where would be the best place in New York City? And I had worked in finance, for 10 years before I started the coaching practice. So I thought, geez, you know what? I'm going to go down to Wall Street because they have pressure even when things are going well. I can't imagine what they're all going through now. So I put on my fanciest corporate suit. And I put a sign together like Lucy in the Peanuts that said, the coach is in. Her sign says, the doctor is in. So mine says the coach is in. And this, guys, is a picture of me in 2008, trying to get it closer to the camera, outside the New York Stock Exchange on the corner of Broad Street and Wall Street. You can see the subway sign right there with my little sign, free. the coach is in. That took some guts. And that is what it takes sometimes. Sometimes you got to be balls out. And by the way, that is not a derogatory term, because any kind of like systems, when they have those balls, it's super ramped up when the balls are out to the wall. I just learned that the other day. So I was happy to hear that that is not a derogatory term or rude. It is actually how systems work. That means full throttle, guys. Sometimes you have to go full throttle. So I did that. I coached for free on that bench, 20-minute hot seats, just like I'm doing here. How many years later? It's 2025, guys, and I'm still doing free coaching. And I'm going to tell you guys, it's harder for me to get people into this than it was to get people to sit down on the bench in New York City. People used to have to wait online to talk to me because I would be 4 or 5 people deep and people would wait. I had traders from the trading floor. I had executives from buildings at that time because people were getting laid off in droves. It was the banking crisis. I had bike messengers stop. Police officers who were on the beat would stop. I had receptionists stop by. Like, people stopped by, did 20-minute speed sessions, and I would see the same people pass, those who hadn't been fired. Some people had to take leave. Some people had to, start hustling for a new job. Like, there was so much chaos back then. But let me tell you, it was all about everybody coming out of their comfort zone. Who's this crazy girl sitting on a bench? Am I going to sit and talk to her? But you know what? They did. And guess what? Everybody walked away with value because they were courageous enough to take. They watched, they stood around. One of the funniest things, or not so funny, but heartbreaking, was there was a trader who had worked on the trading floor. He was pretty young, but mid-30s, and he'd worked there for like at least 10 years, if not longer. And he had been let go of, and he was getting up every day. He lived up in Connecticut, I think. He used to get up every day, catch the train at 4:30 in the morning, leave his family, get dressed, take the train to the city. He had done that for 6 weeks, even though he had been let go of. He was in such shock. He was so ashamed. He didn't want to share it with his wife, didn't want to tell anybody. So he just kept getting up in the morning like he had for all those years, getting dressed, and then took the train into New York, and then basically just sat downtown around the stock exchange. There's, a couple of places where there's like seats where you can sit on tables and chairs or benches, which is where I was. He wasn't even, he definitely hesitated to come to the coaching. What he did is he sat next to me for a couple of hours. Like, I was coaching people. I was, turning over. I think I even got some food that day, came back. And I was like, what is this guy? This guy is still here. What is going on? And then at some point I realized, oh, he doesn't want to look like he's getting coaching. And that could be what's stopping some of you. You don't look like you're getting any coaching. So he was sitting to my right at this point. I had the bench here and the little placard and all of that. So he's sitting over here to my right. And finally, when nobody was there, I just said to him, I was like, how you doing? Like, you've been here for a while. He's like, yeah. And then he just started talking. But I was like, okay, this guy is feeling so completely overwhelmed that he just couldn't even see himself officially getting coaching. So anyway, long story short, what came up was that he just felt so demoralized by what had happened to him, which is understandable. Whenever somebody gets fired, whenever you have a blow up, whenever you have a huge, baseball bat to the gut, guys, it is easy to go into a place of feeling ashamed, of feeling like you're not enough. And all I want to say to you is that is human nature, to feel embarrassed, to feel demoralized, to feel discouraged. But you've got to realize that that is not where you want to stay. You have to find a way to up-level yourself. So he was coach mooching. No, right. He's coach mooching. You're so funny, Liz. You're so funny. I have to see your comments now. And in the end, what I said, first I tried to find out, did he have a supportive wife? If he had a gold digger for a wife, it wasn't going to go well. But he did. He said, no, she's great. She's loving. She's going to be heartsick, but I'm not telling her. So I was like, look, this is what life is. It's filled with ups. It's filled with downs. You got to tell her. You've been there for her, right? And he had. And I said, now it's her turn to be there for you, for her to encourage you, for her to help you hold on and be able to get yourself up and out there so you can get yourself another job. But if you keep it all locked up inside by yourself, the shame is going to grow. The sense of hopelessness is going to grow. You've got to find a way to stop. It was his inner critic. His inner critic was making him feel like garbage, and he couldn't break free. But just like what Uncle Manny told me, you have to find a way to break through the saran wrap. And this is the most critical piece for anybody listening here to break through whatever is holding you back. If you find yourself constantly hesitating with trades where you should be taking higher risk, then you are going to have to face some discomfort, guys. If you find yourself always in the discomfort of a loss that you don't want to be with, so you stay in the trade too long, that means you are going to have to be comfortable with the discomfort of loss. The best phrase out there is from Joseph Campbell. I have it on a postcard. I gave it out at the Tracer for Cause conference the last time I was there, which was October already. God, it goes so fast. It says, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. What does that mean? The cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. It means the things you're avoiding, the pain, the discomfort, the stretching you're avoiding is where the treasure is. It's on the dark bottom of that cave that you keep saying you can't go into, you can't deal with. All I can say to you is, guys, you can deal with more discomfort than you give yourself credit for. I've told the story before how I was, hesitant to go on this road trip with a guy that I had a crush on because my girlfriend was like, what if he doesn't like you back? You're going to be in the middle of Canada with, nowhere to escape if you're embarrassed. And that is what happened. I told him I had feelings for him. He did not have them back beyond friendship. And I was mortified for like 8 hours. And then I was gone. And then we kept having a great time together. But had I not, I almost didn't go on the trip. I almost broke the trip and stopped the trip because I was so afraid I would be embarrassed. But in the end, I got embarrassed and I got over it in less than a day. I want to say the same to you. You are going to be uncomfortable, embarrassed. You're going to make a fool of yourself. If you're learning how to ice skate or roller skate or surf, you're going to fall and fall and fall. So what? So what? Why are you being stopped? Because of a discomfort that might be completely dissipated like a bouillon cube in boiling water. Did you ever look at a bouillon cube and throw it or throw hot water over it or boiling water? Poof, it's gone. That is what's going to happen to your embarrassment on the other side of it. I barely remember the days when I started paddling, and now I'm on a regatta team where I'm competing, for God's sake. What? How did that happen? Because I was willing to be with the discomfort of the stink eye from the girls who didn't want another Hallie in their canoe, because I was willing to be with the being completely uncoordinated in that canoe with really good traders, really professional traders, paddlers. All of those paddlers are like pros. I look like an idiot. I was completely uncoordinated. I was slow. I was tired. I was so bad. But that discomfort, that, it's still kind of there because I'm still not as good. But so what? I've had the time of my life in that canoe club. I've met so many people. Even the girls who gave me stink eye in the beginning, now, of course, are friends with me. Like, don't be so afraid of discomfort, guys. Don't be so afraid of being embarrassed. It's over quicker than you realize. Much quicker. And this is a quote you guys have probably heard me say, but it's so true. And this is a shout out to Raphael Kushner. Raphael has been my Yoda for decades, and Raphael, he's the author of a lot of books. He's also on my podcast. If you haven't seen that interview, because I did it a couple of years ago, I strongly recommend you watch it. So go to the Wall Street Coach podcast. My nose is running this morning. We have the VOG up. Madam Pele, our volcano, is very active as of yesterday. So we have a lot of VOG. So I think I'm having a little nasal thing. So sorry to keep hitting my nose, but yeah, the air is kind of thick with VOG today. But I love it. I love when she's active. If you look on X, you'll see she had like 600 lava fountain going last night. So it's very dramatic. I was there for Christmas. I sent some pictures out. So, okay, back to what I was saying about Raphael. Go to YouTube Live, look up Raphael Kushner on the Wall Street Coach podcast. You're going to see an excellent conversation with Raphael. Like I said, he was my Yoda for many, many, many years. He literally has a quote that ties into what I'm talking about today. And here it is. He said, the dragon that you're so afraid of, when you finally face it, you discover that dragon is only a gerbil in drag. Okay? So what does that mean? That means that the fear of what you think is on the other side of what you're avoiding is never quite as destructive as you think it is. Good, Judson. I'm so glad that spoke to you. I'm telling you guys, I am here to swear to you that the most terrifying things I have ever done never turned out to be as terrifying as I imagined them to be. My book's anniversary, Transforming Wall Street, which is my big book, my baby. It's right here on the bookshelf because this is the only child I will ever have. But this book, Transforming Wall Street, you guys know I have a bunch of ebooks, and I love those little ebooks. But this is my magnum opus. It's 373 pages. This book, okay, this book was the most terrifying thing I had ever taken on. I interviewed Bill Ackman, guys, okay? The Bill Ackman. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist. I'd never written a book at all before. Can you imagine what that would be like to walk into Pershing Square in this gorgeous office overlooking Central Park with Bill Ackman, who, by the way, is very handsome. So I was just like, I was almost hyperventilating. And I was just like, I have to keep my shit together right now because I have this incredible opportunity to interview him for my book. Who else did I interview? Jim Rogers, investment biker, the guy who's been in finance now for 50 years? Like Jim Rogers, I got to interview him in person in New York City. Who else? John Bogle, the man who started Vanguard. He had me come and interview him at their headquarters in Pennsylvania. Is it Pennsylvania? Pennsylvania. Yeah. Pennsylvania? I can't remember. Where's Vanguard offices? Google it, wherever the hell it is. I can't remember. I drove from Jersey. I stayed down on the Jersey Shore and drove there to the Vanguard headquarters on, catch this, the 4th of July weekend. John Bogle in his 90s was working the 4th of July weekend. The entire headquarters was empty except for 2 people, John Bogle, his secretary, and then 3 when I walked in the door. Let me tell you how terrifying that was, guys. The whole process of that book absolutely scared the pants off me for 3.5 years that I worked on it. I interviewed over 90 people. I also wasn't able to include somebody, but he was the head of also a global finance firm, I won't say which, whose offices were probably still are Madison Avenue. He's not the CEO anymore. This guy, I had to take a special elevator to get to the executive suite. And I'm not kidding you guys. I was in this beautiful waiting room that was like a library, and a full-on butler came with the white towel over his arm to ask me if I wanted something to drink. Let me tell you how I did not go running out of that building screaming and crying is beyond me. So what is that? It was fake it till you make it. If I am sitting here with Bill Ackman, I will act like I have a right to be here and I will ask him my questions. I want you guys to start to think that way about yourself. If you are finding yourself called to do something out of your comfort zone, if you are finding yourself in a place where you know you're being asked to move past what is very familiar to you, then expect the discomfort to come, expect the embarrassment to come, expect the terror to come. But so what? I've talked about Jocko's response. The Navy SEALs are taught how to respond when they feel scared, when they feel threatened, when they feel not glad about something that's happening. They respond. Can anybody tell me? Put it in the comments. I'm really curious if you guys are listening to either him or listening to me, because I've talked about this repeatedly. What does Jocko, what does the Navy SEALs say when the shit hits the fan? Somebody put it in the comments. I'm not going to tell you guys. I really want to see if you guys know what is being said, because it is the most profound response. Good. That's their response. Good. We're about to walk 8 miles and it just started raining. Good. They say that because they are trying to completely turn their minds into the direction of, I can do this. Let me have it. You have to start to see that all of these things that are being thrown at you, be it the market, be it your trading, be it personal events, be it health crises, be it unexpected, things in your family or relationships, it's all there as if you start to look at it as if it's there to help raise up your consciousness, it's there to help raise your level of awareness, if it's there to help you be more present, then why would you not say good? Wouldn't you want to have the best of you always out there being operated from? If you are settling for yourself, if you're keeping yourself comfortable, if you're keeping yourself safe and small and quiet, then you aren't actually living. Seth Godin has a great quote where he says, people will put more time, money, energy, planning into a 2-week vacation instead of taking all that time, money, planning into how they live their life. That is what I am trying to encourage you guys to do. If you have hit a plateau in your trading, it's time to blow past it. If you have hit a plateau of any sort in your personal relationships, it's time to blow past it. Doesn't mean you have to be not kind to those people in your life that might have been there for years, but you have to ask yourself, is it time for, if you're being an excellent friend and you are not feeling that there is support for how you're changing, how you're growing, what you're moving towards, then you have to create new friendships because you're going to need them. You're going to need to have friends on the other side of your growth. So start now. Start to look at where the places you are holding yourself back. Where is one place? Is anybody willing to share with me in the comments where you suspect you're holding yourself back? Maybe it's in your trading. Maybe it's in your health. Maybe it's in your day job. Maybe it's in a relationship that you know is not good for you. Maybe it's staying in a relationship with people that don't support, encourage, and inspire you. Where is the place that any of you right now know you're being held back? I would be very, very inspired to have you say it out loud. Because here's the thing, as soon as you say it in any of these forums, even if you just put one word, guys, here's what happens. You force yourself to have to be with the truth. That is part of what had to happen for me in all that I was being challenged with the paddling. I had to face that yes, I was uncoordinated. Yes, some girls were giving me the stink eye. Yes, I was, out of shape. Yes. But that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was taking 100% responsibility for all of it. 100%. It wasn't the girls who gave me the stink eye. It wasn't that, it was people who were, yeah, Liz is saying her day job is deep rooted. My day job and is deep rooted scared. So, Liz, let me clarify. Is the day job environment and scarcity, or are you saying your relationship to the day job? I just want to get clear there. Tina's saying trading for sure. So, Tina, if you're willing to, just explain to me what and where and how are you being held back? It doesn't have to be like a paragraph, but what is it about your trading that you know you need to level up with? And look, Liz, when I'm going to just presume that you're saying the environment you're in with the job is based in scarcity. And look, that is a hard thing to be with. And there are times, even if we can't get ourselves away from people or places or things that are scarcity driven, it can become a beautiful practice to hold your center of not being in a place of scarcity. Because what you have then is contrast. Contrast is part of the world that we live in, right? The light and the darkness, the good, the evil. Contrast is part of the journey. So even if you find yourself potentially in places where you're not in a position to walk away and you're experiencing their scarcity, you get to have this great constant, like a piece of sand in a shell. That's how pearls get born, guys. It's debris that gets coated over time because the shell, the interior of the shell, is trying to protect itself from that piece of debris scratching it. So it covers it up with the pearl, that quality that becomes a pearl. And what you can do whenever you're in a situation that you can't change, you can become that pearl. You can take it's the same idea of what I said before about what the Navy SEALs say in response to something that challenges them. Good. Okay. The people around me at my job are filled with scarcity. Good. Let them be, because now that's going to be constantly giving you an opportunity to stay true to your abundance mindset and to constantly have the reminders all day long. The pinprick, the pinprick, the pinprick. You're going to bump into somebody's scarcity, and you can withhold all of like your correcting of them and instead just be abundance, Liz. Be abundant in the face of all their scarcity. That is going to strengthen your muscle like nobody's business. That is the key. I'm going to tell another paddling story here. Again, an indication of how Uncle Manny is constantly trying to up level any of the paddlers that were ever with him. They're for professional races, we have to use a Koa canoe, which is so heavy. So we usually use, canoes are heavy. They're 600-700 pounds, but Koa wood canoes are even heavier, like 1,000 pounds, probably, maybe even more. I don't even remember. Anyway, there was some kind of damage to one underneath the canoe. Something had gotten hit. So he just repaired it, but he wanted us to take it on the ocean. So he was going to put 6 paddlers. There's a bunch of us. The whole club was down there because we knew we had to help carry the canoe down into the ocean because everything is done, kind of by hand. You can't use wheels. We have like 2 little wheels. We'll put the canoe on, balance it, and take it down. But the Koa is so sensitive. We don't do that. Okay, hold on. I want to just see what Rex Peck says here. Sometimes I'm afraid to enter the trade as I want to enter the best possible level. Overthinking. Let's see here. Overthinking makes me often miss good trades in the end. Okay, so Rex Peck's great inquiry. Here's my 2 cents about that. Perfection is the enemy of good enough. Look, I love that you are really wanting to enter at the best possible level. That is excellent. That is a great desire. And perfection is the enemy of good enough. Don't not take the trade. You are only going to get better at entering at the best possible level if you start to take the trade. You have to be in it for you to get that nuance. If you're constantly standing on the sidelines saying, that's where I should have done it, that's where I should have done it, this, oh God, I almost did it there, you're not in action. You can't get better unless you are in it. Now, I'm not telling you to not protect your risk. You have to protect your risk, but the overthinking is likely an inner critic, an inner gremlin, and that inner critic is telling you you have to do it precisely, perfectly. And I'm telling you, that's going to keep you, because you're never going to be perfect. Here's the big news alert, Rex Peck, all of us. You're never going to be perfect. You're not a robot. You're a human being. So stop trying to seek out perfection. Seek out good enough. You're present to it. You know it's important. You know, of course, you want to get it at the best possible level. Of course. And you only going to be able to actually secure and seek that out in the practice of taking it. Even the timing, even the buttons that you're pressing, maybe they have to be tightened up. Maybe there has to be a hotkey that gets pre-programmed that helps you do this. But if you don't begin, you can't get better at it. Right now, it sounds like you're standing on the sidelines trying to find that elusive perfect spot. And I promise you, that isn't going to come as you're sitting up in the, stands. You have to be in the arena. You have to be in the field. You have to be risking not getting it right. And if that's hard for you, then that is likely an inner critic who wants you to be perfect, but you're never going to be perfect. So what are you going to do? Never trade? No. All right, let me get to Tina. Tina says, trusting myself and lack of confidence to make a setup due to past mistakes that equated with catastrophic loss. It continues to haunt me and I can't seem to shake it. So Tina, I'm going to give you a very counterintuitive mindset question. Okay. I want you to think about how not shaking it serves you. Rex Pex, you're welcome. I hope that helped. Liz, I'm so glad. I'm glad that you love it. And I'm glad that that worked for you. Tina, that's the question. I want you to start to find, how does you not trusting yourself serve you? I know it sounds crazy, Tina. How does allowing those past catastrophic mistake top of mind, how does that serve you? What do you get out of it? What do you get from that? There's always a payoff, Tina. There's always a payoff. It continues to haunt me, you said, and I can't seem to shake it. So somewhere, somehow, that loss is some place being turned into protecting you. This is what I learned this in Landmark. Can't say enough good things about that course. If any of you ever have an opportunity, it does though, Tina. It does serve you somehow because you are not putting it down. You say, I can't shake it. You are holding it. There's a reason you're holding it. There is a payoff. There is a payoff. And I want you to look at what that payoff could be. I know this sounds crazy. I know you're like, no, it doesn't serve me at all. Somewhere deep inside, Tina, it does serve you. It does protect you. It does give you sort of like, it's like, this is the best analogy. Are you guys ready? And this is for everybody listening, not just you, Tina, including me. It's like a blankie. We have these little blankies that, like our first stuffed animal. I still have my first stuffed animal. That's how hard it is for me. I can't even let go of it. I have this nice little cute puppy that was given to me when I was in the hospital with my mother. And somehow, in the crazy fucking life I've had, I still have that little puppy. He's like this big. I'll bring him up one day, guys. That's my first stuffed animal. He's still with me. I can't let go of him. He is a security blanket. We each have stories that become a security blanket. Tina has right now a security blanket that basically is not, that's paying her off. Tina, think about this. What is the payoff at staying not confident? Think about the payoff of being haunted. The payoff, here's a hint. The payoff is you get to stay exactly where you are now. You get to stay safe. You get to have this really good, juicy story where you get to use $3 words like catastrophic. That's a dramatic story. I had a catastrophic loss. And I'm not making fun of you, Tina. Follow me on this. Hopefully you know me enough to know this. But it's a dramatic story. I had a catastrophic loss, right? You get to have that story be with you, goes with you everywhere you go. If you put that story down, what happens? You don't get to have the story anymore. You don't get to focus on what you made mistakes. You actually might have to step into a whole new story of yourself, a story where you have bodacious, fuck you money and success beyond your wildest imaginations. What if that, Tina, is what you're actually scared of? What if you being so incredibly, brilliantly successful is what scares the shit out of you and not that old loss? This is what I'm trying to ask each of you to look at. We hold on to these stories because they bring us comfort. They make us feel like, oh, he was so mean to me, or, oh, Nick didn't like me back. Poor me. Like, that could have been the story that I held on to. And by the grace of God, and because I've done so much work on myself, I have enough people in my life who will slap my face and say, snap out of it. But it's very easy to get caught up in the stories. And I want you guys to really look for, where is the payoff? Even Liz's comment about her office being filled with scarcity, that could become her story. Oh, well, everybody's scarcity, Kim. How can I come from abundance when everybody around me is? That becomes a story. Who cares what anybody else is like? You are the creator of your own environment. If you want to come from a place of abundance, it doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. Who cares? What are you doing? But every time we take it off of ourselves and we say, but this happened and that's holding me back, or this is what's happening right now and that's holding me back. All of it is a bunch of stories, guys. I'm not making the stories wrong. I'm just telling you, either you're going to up level and write a new story, or you're going to keep living a very old story over and over and over again. What does Anias Nin says? She has that beautiful quote that when the bud finally feels so much pain that it's ready to blossom, that the pain of blossoming isn't as hard because it's having pain staying tight in the bud. That is true for all of us. I kind of butchered it, but that's the gist of it. You have to get to a point where your story is so uncomfortable for you that you're willing to put it down. You have to be willing, guys, to put the story down. And if you're still holding on to any of your stories, you can't write a new one. You got to start fresh every day. You have to wipe that slate clean. But very infrequently do we do that. All right, I just want to see what Liz wrote here. Rex, I've been working on refining this and it will be trial and error, but ultimately you develop and refine your best level with time. It will be unique to you and only you, but it's up to you to piece it together. Rex Peck says, it used to be easier. The more experience I get, the more difficult it is. Rex Peck, I'm going to push back on that. I don't think that it's gotten more difficult with more experience. I think it's become more difficult for you because you are trying to get perfect at it. In the beginning, it was easier because you didn't even know what you didn't know. So you were not holding yourself to these impossibly high standards. How many traders here are constantly comparing themselves to all of the guys that are at the 7-8 figure mark? You are comparing yourself in proportion to where you are. I'm not saying you don't watch those guys and want to emulate those guys, but you got to work with where you are right now. You can't look at the Rock's workout if you're a guy who's never been to the gym. Like, you got to start with where your body, mind, and capacity is. So I think you've just given yourself your answer there, Rex Peck. If it used to be easier, it is probably because you weren't seeking perfection, or that, like, you know, that little extra is going to be much better for you financially. But again, you got to be with good enough. I'm not saying good enough is the place I want you to stay forever. But if you're being completely interrupted over and over and again from taking a trade, there is definitely an inner critic or an inner saboteur that is afoot, and it is wanting you to not take any action. Is a very manipulative way of keeping you. Look, this is the thing about inner critics, guys. They want us to stay in the piece of the forest that we know. Everybody here today, right? Whether it's Tina, who might have to really put down that loss, and however it gives her a payoff, whether it's Liz with the people in her office who are coming from scarcity, or Rex Pax, who's trying to be perfect in these entries, you've got to be willing, guys, to go out of the forest landscape that you know. The inner critics want to keep you stuck in the story, in the details like this, because that is the safe spot, or so it thinks. If you start to leave that patch of the forest and start to go someplace else, the inner critic goes crazy. Like, where are you going? We don't know what's going to happen out there. That's right. We don't. I could fuck up again. I could have another loss again. I could find myself without maybe a job. I could potentially be happy. And I don't know what to do with that because everybody's so used to me being not happy. Like, you got to take a look at this. Rex Pex, what if your entries are for the rest of your life a little bit be below what is ideal? You probably still will make money, Rex Pex. And if you did that on a consistent basis, I bet you would be okay with that. So find what and where a story you're telling yourself has outlived its expiration mark. Is that story had all the time in the sun it needed? And if that's true, take it, have a little burial service for it. Dig a hole in your backyard, put a big stick in there, take something that symbolizes that story, maybe write that story down on a piece of paper, fold that story up, and bury it in the ground. Close that hole back up, say a little prayer to that story you're going to say goodbye to. Thank it for the wisdom it's taught you, but that you are ready to move on. Say a little chant, hum a little song, say a little meditation or prayer, whatever is your proclivity, or just thank Mother Earth for absorbing that story and let it go. Let it go, guys. Let it go. All right. I have to go, but I am so happy for the questions. Good to see you, Eric. It's been a while. All right. So no coaches, no coach volunteers today, which is too bad. But hopefully this served you guys. The lessons I'm suggesting you take away from today is to be very present to the stories you're telling yourself. The story I gave you guys was, where is there saran wrap above your head when you actually think it's glass? Where is it that you could actually just pop through because you choose to? How do you begin to find a way to say good in the face of adversity, in the face of a challenge, in the face of things going pear-shaped, in the face of things completely going like you could never have expected them to go? How do you respond from a place of good? I can handle that. Remember that those two phrases, you can say what if all the time, or you can start instead to say even if. That is what I want you to start to say. Liz, even if you're surrounded by people who are coming from scarcity, you can come from abundance. If we're looking at Tina, even if you have a catastrophic loss again, you will still pull yourself back up. Even if, Rex Pex, you're not getting the perfect entry, you are still taking an entry and you will get better with it over time, right? Even if I'm still never going to be a really good paddler like my fellow paddlers, I am still out on the ocean paddling with whales and dolphins and living my best life, right? So even if, guys, that's the key phrase to remember. You have what it takes. Those dragons you are so afraid to face never turn out to be quite as bad as you think they are. So don't let them stop you from living your best life. All right. I hope this was helpful, Repex. And if you guys ever want more help, send me a DM and we can hop on a phone call and see if what it is that me and my magical coaching does could serve you. So I'm going to put that as my closing comment. If you guys do want to check out my coaching and come in for, which would obviously be coaching not on this channel, but it would be obviously 101, then click this link if you want to talk with me about if it would serve you. Because at the end of the day, guys, that's what I want. I want this only to serve you so that you can actually begin to up level yourself. Okay. I will see you guys hopefully very soon. And I will be back here next Wednesday. Okay, guys. A hui ho means until we